So just to say, I'm very, very grateful to Dr. David Turner, who has very kindly agreed to share his experience of voice banking using, I think you used Model Talker, didn't you? And just off camera is David's wife Claire, who you may hear every so often, which is if you want
very lovely.
So, if it's okay, David, I'm going to hand over to you.
Hello, I am David Turner, a 56-year-old GP and Dexterous. I was diagnosed with motor neurone disease early last year and retired soon after. I had experienced progressive right-hand weakness a few months before. No one had noticed the deterioration in my handwriting as I was a doctor. My wife thought I was putting it on, but then my wife has never really understood me. The disease progressed at a steady pace, so that now I cannot use my arms, and I cannot walk. My voice started to become slurred 6 months ago, especially when tired. Now people have difficulty understanding what I am saying. Swallowing is generally okay if I avoid certain foods. Motor Talker is an easy and free way of recording and synthesizing your own voice for future use for when you are unable to speak clearly. It can be done in your own time and in your own home. It's not perfect, but your synthesized voice is recognizable as your own voice. It's important to emphasize the need to record or bank your voice early. I found out about Motor Talker by chance when my sister-in-law referred me to a website called 1 in 400, which is apparently the lifetime chance of an individual developing motor neurone disease. The website is written by a very knowledgeable fellow, MD sufferably murdered, and he is happy for anybody to visit the site and use the resources. He has written an easy-to-follow step-by-step guide on voice banking with Motor Talker. The service is free. Richard Cave then very kindly downloaded Motor Talker into Grid 3 on my tablet, which Richard had given me. This service was also free on the NHS, although Richard works much better with a regular supply of lemon drizzled cake and tea.
It's true, it's true.
So voice banking is easy and free, assuming you already have a personal computer or tablet and an internet connection. The only thing you need to buy are the recommended earphones with an integrated microphone at a cost of around £30. Once registered online with Motor Talker, you need to read and record 1,600 sentences, from which they can bank and synthesize your voice. It takes about 20 hours to do this, and I completed the task over 2 weeks.
That was quick.
It's most important to commence voice banking early, preferably before the voice is affected by the disease process, for a better quality outcome. If left too late, the recordings may be rejected by Motor Talker. I began voice banking just as my speech was becoming slurred. My speech was worse when tired, so I found it better to record in the morning and for not too long. The final product, as you can hear, is not perfect, and there are some mispronunciations, but my voice is recognizable as my own to my friends and family. Maintaining this aspect of one's identity is important, given that so many other aspects of one's identity are eroded by the disease. And if you are going to use a synthesized voice to communicate, then why not use a version of your own? I would have liked a slightly posh new voice, maybe like you, Graham, because my wife likes him, but you cannot have everything. When I first heard about voice banking, I was not particularly interested. At the time, I could speak clearly with no signs of deterioration, and voice banking seemed like a lot of bother. Now, I am glad that I made the investment in time and effort, as the final product is worthwhile. I would urge you to encourage others in a similar situation to do the same. Thank you for listening.
I think that's wonderful. Thanks very much, David.
You're welcome.
I understand that you did the research yourself and you found out about voice banking yourself.
I'm glad sister.
We didn't really Google much about the disease because we didn't want to.
Okay.
One of my sisters spent a lot of time on the internet and came across the 1 in 400 website
Okay.
where he talks.
Yes.
He's got sort of an aside that explains how he banked his voice, and she sent us the link. We then had a long debate about it because Dave couldn't see the point. He could have a voice off the shelf, his voice wasn't going, so why bother doing it?
Yes.
Because it's all time.
So the point in which, when you kind of found out about all this and actually decided to do something about it, was when you noticed a change in your voice. Was that it?
I think so. I think I decided before I put it off, and when my voice became slurred, I thought I'd better get on and do it.
And it was only a tiny bit slurred. Speaking was taking a lot of energy, wasn't it? So you probably still had a reasonable voice, but it was an effort. So that must have been a bit of a signal that things were changing.
And we had the builders in. They had the vent around that.
Yeah,
actually,
wet room.
Wet room, and then actually recording a voice while the wet room's being built is yet another challenge.
Yeah.
So I'm amazed you did it in 2 weeks. I'm really impressed.
It's boring. And I can bear about 1 hour or 90 minutes after that. You get fed up
Yeah, you get fed up.
and tired.
You
Yeah.
set yourself targets, didn't you? You
Yeah.
tried to do a certain number of sentences each session. But obviously sometimes they weren't good enough quality, so there's a whole
Yeah.
issue there about having to repeat them
Yeah.
because
Yes,
they're not acceptable. And
yes,
And
that's
you're-
right.
Be talking about that, will you?
Oh yes,
You
for sure.
read red and amber.
That's right.
And if anyone from Model Talker is listening, why don't you put the phrases together into a story? Now, if we like reading extracts from the novel,
you might want to go back the next day to
Yeah.
find out what happens
Find out what
to
happened next.
yeah,
Joe March or whatever.
How much help did you need to do the Model Talker recording?
Once you went on the website, without
Yeah.
1 in 400 you wouldn't have done it
no,
because Dave didn't come across you until he'd been to King's, and by then his voice probably wouldn't have been acceptable.
Right.
So it's down to that website. The
Yes.
man who's done 1 in 400.
Yeah.
We went to Tandy, bought a set of earphones, and that was it.
Did it yourself?
no,
Yeah,
it's
because we've got the
brilliant.
internet, we've got a laptop, so
It shouldn't be left to John.
no.
Good. I'm glad you said that, and I think it is. Personally, I think it is a lot of the time. So, speaking as a GP, and I've come in because I'm your patient, and I
Bear looks serious.
don't look serious. So, in this situation which you found yourself, what would you advise me to do?
UYMND.
Yeah.
Well, get in touch with someone like yourself as soon as possible. As Richard, you've been invaluable.
Okay, so as a GP, you would advise a patient who come in, even prior to voice being affected, to go and speak to somebody that understands about voice banking.
And I look up and go to the MND Association and read their information leaflet. It's a very valuable source of information and support. I'm not just for this, for everything, including wheelchairs and breathing, everything. Yeah, for a lot of GPs, including myself, I know very little about MND. I never encountered it before,
Okay.
and there was no one in our surgery who had it. No, and the difficult thing was spreading awareness.
You've been through it all, and you're using this voice when you get tired. Is it worth it?
Yeah, especially as my voice is becoming more effective. And soon I'll have to rely on this completely. It is rather cumbersome, as you can see, but it's good to have.
Are you bothered it's your voice rather than any voice?
Personally, not so bothered, but I think it's important to your family and friends. As I said earlier, it maintains your identity, which is being lost because of the disease.
So on reflection, it feels like the voice is more important for the people around you than it is for yourself.
No, for me, but others might want to keep their own voice anyway.
Yes.
Also, this is I've got everything else on it. I think,
The tablet?
yeah, and all my books.
Okay, so
As well, I can watch TV on it.
great. So that tablet is a whole bunch of things
Yeah.
for you, including your book reading, your Kobo and
Yeah,
TV,
Emails.
emails,
in the home
Skype,
entertainment centre.
and entertainment centre. My boss is going to love that because
What?
you fitted an entertainment centre. Yeah, so we were just talking about kind of how you came across voice banking from the start, and you talked about the website, and then what happened next?
Dave's neurologist at the local hospital had trained with someone who works at one of the London teaching hospitals and suggested Dave might like to be involved in some research, possibly because he was a GP himself. He might be interested in doing some research into motor neurone disease. So Dave's neurologist did a referral to the London hospital, where they have a multidisciplinary team motor neurone disease clinic, and it was via that route that Dave got a referral to Richard's team in Putney. So it was a very tenuous way of finding out about the service that you offer, and we would never have come across it
No.
without having gone to the London hospital and, you know.
And this research going on. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd have had the voice,
Yeah.
a digital voice, but
And then
but
what
we-
happens next?
yeah,
Yes. Good point. And actually, I hadn't thought about that, because actually banking the voice is only the beginning, really, even though
Yeah.
it's a big, long beginning. What next? And
Yes.
actually, you know, as things change, you know, equipment changes, what happens to the voice? You know, the voice files, the voice bank, where does it go? How does it get stored? All
Yeah.
those questions. It's a really good point.
And grid 3, being able to actually utilise the voice, you need a software and the hardware to get the voice to
Yes.
come out of something, to speak.
I want to ask, in Model Talker, you said the voice is an approximation. Does it feel a good enough approximation for you?
Yeah. That was mispronounced as I did. The one must not be intelligible.
Yeah.
And they run together, don't they, as you heard
Yeah.
earlier?
Yes.
It doesn't seem to honour punctuation.
I get used to that and avoid some of those words.
So you change the way you speak to avoid those words.
And make sure you put commas in and gaps.
So, what are your kind of top tips for somebody that's considering it? What they should do, what they should avoid?
And go to that man's website, 1 in 400,
1 in 400.
and then the guidelines rule there really easy. And do it, get out of the way early.
Very good.
Just early is free.
It's
Okay.
free, well, it's free at the moment, and although you can try and second guess whether your voice will be affected or not, if your voice is affected by the disease, then it's probably too late. So it's worth you investing the time.
Yeah.
And it may have been a waste of time, but if your voice does change, then it won't have been.
I think that's great advice. I just want to say thank you very much to Dr. David Turner. Thank you, and to Claire Turner. Thank you very much.